Hello, listeners. Welcome to KORC's News, Music, and Civics show. I am Wendy Byrne, and this is the Corvallis Civics Cafe. Today, I will review what City Council discussed at their recent business meeting and their work session, then look at what is on tap for meetings in the first week of March. Let's get to it. The second City Council business meeting of February was on Tuesday the 17th. It was a fairly sedate meeting, low on the spice level, and ending earlier than most of their meetings. However, some items were covered that will have a ripple effect in the future, and we will get to that. For now, let's stick to the menu. Prior to the regular meeting, the City Council had an executive session to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of an employee or staff member. Given that later in the week, one item on the agenda was city attorney evaluation, my spidey sense told me the executive session was related to that. Moving on to the open to the public business meeting, the City Council held a public hearing related to proposed revisions to the Parks System Development Charge methodology. FYI, a System Development Charge, also known as an SDC, is a one-time fee imposed on new or certain types of redevelopment at that time of development. The fee is intended to recover a fair share of the costs of existing and planned parks facilities that provide capacity to serve new growth. As with many other things, a budget gap has developed between the money in the pot and the items that money needs to cover. While the city has been successful at securing grants and donations to fund parks-related projects, updating the method by which fees are collected is a better way of closing the gap. For those interested in a deeper dive, the full Parks SDC methodology update, project lists, and background materials are available on the city's website and are part of the electronic record of information from this City Council meeting. The City Council voted unanimously in favor of the suggested changes brought to them by staff. If there was anything to be deeply worried about at this time, I would cover it here. Suffice it to say that I do believe there will be pressure in the future to remove what might be seen as fat from the city budget, and one way will likely be to trim the budget for our Parks and Recreation Department. I don't see evidence of that happening yet. The next hearing of the meeting was about the consolidation of 2 parcels of land on the Oregon State University campus, which will make it easier for the university to develop a student housing project at this location. Where? Essentially at the location of 17th and Western. Again, I do not get the sense of anything nefarious from this situation, and the City Council approved it with unanimous yes votes. Moving on, the Council heard from Chris Jacobs, the manager of the Corvallis-Benton County Economic Development Office. Jacobs covered updates to his strategic plan with a focus on the state of the downtown and the state of local industrial development. Speaking of industry, what do you know about the city's industrial lands availability? Let me tell you more. As I have heard discussed in other city meetings, word is that for vacant land, Corvallis has more industrial than any other type of land. News is that this is going to grow. In fact, during the February 9th meeting of the Economic Development Coalition, Manager Jacobs reported that he had completed the application for annexation of the airport industrial site. This represents the largest annexation application in the history of Corvallis. Seriously. It is city-owned, but it was never annexed. And in the very near future, that annexation hearing will come to the City Council, and Manager Jacobs, amongst other people, would very much like it to pass, as industrial-related growth will provide much-needed revenue to the city coffers. Depending on your view of development in Corvallis in general, this is pretty much news with a capital N. If anyone listening is worried about what might be built on our vacant industrial lands, you might be interested to hear this exchange between Ward 1 Councillor Jan Napak and Manager Jacobs.
This is a question a lot of communities are facing, which is whether or not to allow data farms to be part of the industrial area. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Try and avoid opinion questions like that. I mean, I don't think the return on investment is necessarily great. in terms of the number of jobs, in terms of the taxable value, in terms of the effect on power and water. It's not going to be a target industry, I'll say. And I don't know that I'm in a rush to change the industrial code to accommodate it.
During City Council unfinished business, members unanimously approved a letter of support for a property tax exemption for affordable housing development in South Corvallis. This letter will go to the Lynn Benton Housing Authority, and the property tax exemption will last for 15 years. The rental fees at this location will remain affordable for 30 years. The location of this housing is on Wake Robin in South Corvallis. The next item of business on the agenda was a staff request that the City Council vote to adopt a resolution that confirmed feedback they provided to staff at the February 4th work session. At that time, the Council directed staff to move forward with developing proposals that incorporate the use of a general obligation bond, a payroll tax, and a personal income tax as means of closing the looming budget gap. It did not get spicy. In fact, the vote was unanimously in favor of the resolution. Ward 5 City Councilor Charlene Ellis had this to say.
I will vote in favor of this, even though I argued against most of it, because I do think it is an accurate summary of what the decision of the council as a whole was. I was clear in how I didn't quite agree with what we had, but what this is what we agreed upon, and so I will support the resolution.
There might be heat in the future once Corvallis residents realize that a general obligation bond generates debt, not revenue, and when we see exactly how much those payroll and personal income taxes are going to cost us. But Tuesday night, this item had no spice. Those folks deeply engaged with following the money will want to know that at the tail end of the business meeting, Finance Department staff gave the City Council a review of the biennial 2025-2027 budget Year 1, Quarter 2 operating report. The full report is part of the electronic packet of information for this meeting and will also be part of the minutes when they are archived on the city website. Moving on in the week, at their work session on Thursday the 19th, the Council had a discussion with Public Works staff regarding updates to the Water Master Plan, with a focus on optimizing the plan for fire flow, which is industry speak for making sure there is proper water storage and flow to support firefighting needs in various parts of town. This is an excellent example of how city staff keeps the City Council informed about important issues in the nuts and bolts of running a city. The PowerPoint presentation will be part of the minutes for the meeting when they are published in the next few weeks, but if you want to see it now, you can watch the first 20 minutes of the recording by finding it at vimeo.com/City of Corvallis. Other topics covered during the work session included updates to the city's noise ordinance and a review of the City Council's evaluation of the city attorney. The general takeaway is that the Council is pleased with the work of the City Attorney's Office. Attorneys Josh Soper and Emily Matasar from the Portland law firm Beery, Elsner, and Hammond were present during the work session. Mayor Mond pointed out that the city attorneys have been very helpful as Corvallis works its way through the changes being proposed to the city charter. And City Manager Mark Shepard noted that the law firm's strong ties to the League of Oregon Cities have also been of benefit to Corvallis. When Ward 8 Councilor Mayers asked the lawyers what other cities are doing that Corvallis is not yet doing, the attorneys suggested that the councilors could attend some of their legal trainings and webinars. At the tail end of the work session, Council discussed what they need to do regarding informing the public on the ballot measures for the first round of charter changes, which we the people will vote on this May. That, in addition to the ongoing work on Phase 2 of charter changes, is no small rock to push uphill. City and other meetings on the calendar for the coming week include Monday, February 23rd meetings of the Climate Action Advisory Board and the Safe Streets and Roads for All Task Force. Later in the week, meetings include those of the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Board and Phase 2 of the Charter Review Task Force. On Thursday, February 26th, the Corvallis League of Women Voters, in partnership with the City of Corvallis, brings us the latest installment in the Know Your City series. Since 2017, the League of Women Voters of Corvallis has offered annual public forums on Corvallis city services and programs. On February 26th at 6:30 p.m., the League is offering a special program focused on downtown Corvallis. Corvallis Downtown, past, present, and future, takes place in the Corvallis-Benton County Public Library main meeting room. The event coincides with a renewed focus on downtown Corvallis. Representatives from the city's Downtown Vitality Strategy Task Force, as well as from the city's Economic Development Office, will be among the speakers at the event. At the end of the week, on Saturday, February 28th, Corvallis School Board member Sami Al-Abdraba will host Government Comment Corner from 10 a.m. to noon at the Corvallis Public Library. That, my friends, is plenty to keep the Civics Cafe busy, and is nearly a wrap for this week's show. What is left? It's time for food for thought. What is on my mind these days is the development pressures here and now in Corvallis. As you might imagine, I have signed up for many of the e-notifications on offer via the city website, for everything from the city newsletter, to city meeting announcements, to land use decisions and development information. Lately, several times a week, an email arrives giving me notice about a development application for a multi-unit development at one or another location in Corvallis. We need housing, and I am a YIMBY, especially as from what I see, there will be new developments in nearly all the different parts of the city. But wow, in my 25 years here, I have never seen anything like this. A 7-story building on Northwest 23rd near the Corvallis Community Center? Check. 23 units of townhouses on 1 acre at 11th and Buchanan? Check. 53 units of housing on the far end of 9th Street near Maxine Drive? Check. A 13-story multi-use building at 4th and Western? Oh yes. Check, check, check. And that is just scratching the surface. When I ride my bike or walk through downtown, I see a myriad of changes underway, including updates to old buildings and completely new buildings taking shape. What will come of a large annexation of industrial land in the south end of the city? Frequent listeners to the show might have realized that if you listen to the very end, I play a final audio outtake from recent city meetings. This week's, on the subject of industrial land development, is an exchange between Ward 7 Councilor Paul Schaefer and Economic Development Office Manager Chris Jacobs. I hope you listen to the very end to hear it. In the long run, I am interested to see how the city will keep up, and how we will stay Corvallis. Here at the Civics Cafe, I will keep talking about that and more. Thanks for joining me at the Corvallis Civics Cafe. I hope the show serves you useful information about local civics and inspires you to engage with our city. If you enjoy KORC and the Civics Cafe, I hope you share it with others. Share that KORC's News, Music, and Civics airs weekly on Sundays at 1 p.m. and repeats on Mondays at 5 p.m. and can be heard on FM station 105.9 or streamed online at korcfm.com. If you listen to the Civics Cafe at Podbean or at Apple Podcasts, share that information with someone who lives in Corvallis, or better yet, give the show its first review. Until next time, I'm Wendy Byrne for KORC.
What can council be doing to help push forward to be successful in getting people to start using some of that vacant industrial land? You talk about investing, and is that what we need to provide? What do we need to provide to help you make all of that work?
I think 3 things. Annexation of the Airport Industrial Park, supporting industrial code amendment changes when they come shortly after the annexation, and supporting a willingness to finance public improvements as part of a development agreement with the RISS program in the future. Like figuring out what kind of wiggle room exists within, I understand, very limited financial resources and lots of competing priorities, but if growing the tax base is really important as a long-term solution, those critical investments are a big part of that. And so I don't expect that to be something we figure out right away, but figuring out where we have flexibility, even take a small bite out of the apple so that when a company wants to be here, we can participate in the public improvement and be a lot more competitive because of it.